So the reason I became a science major and pursued a degree in the sciences, I did have a curiosity, and I still do, of what is up there. And when I discovered that what we think of as outer space and everything is fake, I went back to the Bible and remembered and read about the firmament, and I figure that there is a glassy type, some kind of a barrier dome over the flat Earth. It's the only, just think about it. It's the only explanation. Why would they fake everything about outer space? They want to hide the truth. Why do they want to hide the truth? I don't know. Why does a psychopath do what a psychopath does? Well, I can't explain it, and I don't want to. But I do know one thing. I know that they try to make it seem like the Bible, what it says, isn't true. But it, in fact, is true. Now, what does the Bible say about this stuff? Well, that's been covered, but basically, I'll cover it now. It says the earth is covered by a dome, a firmament that holds waters back from above. Are we in a bubble? Well, that wouldn't be holding it back very well now, would it? It has to be a barrier. So this collection of photos is some of the best evidence that I could find of what is really up there. And a lot of these you'll see, I've done photo analysis where I change the light, and I try to do that, and some things come out that you can't see in the original photo. I'm not doctoring it, I'm just taking colors and enhancing certain ones and others, and I know it can create artifacts and things like that. I realize that. But I could go, I've made a lot of videos. You might wonder, why do I pick on NASA? And the reason I do is I'm really, really upset with the structure and how you take the best and brightest people, you lead them on by the nose, and they learn all this false stuff, and if they get to the top, they end up like these clowns who are in charge of these science missions that NASA does that are complete fakery. They might as well take a job at the local PBS station with puppets and do that. That's about as scientific. Except that the puppets teach kids things that are true, like A, B, C, and 1, 2, 3. It's really disappointing when you've worked so hard, to get somewhere, and then you find out that it's all for naught. Well, anyway, here are some photos included. Lots of high altitude balloons. Pictures. The pictures speak for themselves, but I'll run it back through and I'll go over certain ones of these pictures and provide a little bit more explanation. I think this little video, this little production that I'm showing, that I made for you for free here today, may be the most informative and best presentation on what is above your head and what is really there instead of fake space. And this is something that I would love to have seen, but I can tell you that it has been a joy putting this together and figuring this stuff out. And it has, so far, it's been an adventure, because that's why I got into science, why I chose to major in science in college, and why I've done technical and scientific work throughout my career is because I have a curiosity and I love to determine the nature of God's, universe, world, God's green earth, the heavens above. I love to learn about it, figure it out, and determine what the nature of it exactly is, of the properties and things like that. So here are shots from either a plane or a balloon during an eclipse. If I were a little bit more industrious, I had planned to do that myself, send up a high altitude balloon with a regular lens on a high quality camera and send it up during the eclipse and film towards the sun, and of course have a camera pointed straight up, because I don't know how close we can get to the dome, but it seems that if the camera's pointed straight up, you'd have some good shots. So now, before I go back through each one of these individually, or not each one, but just the highlights, and talk about them, I just want to state that most of these have the 360 lens or the fisheye, so it's going to have false curves. Sorry about that. I wouldn't have done that if I took the pictures myself. So maybe I will do that, but until then, I have to work with what I have. Why do we hate the the fisheye lens? We love the flat lens, the normal view. Now this is a 360 view, but it isn't distorting it like a fisheye lens would. It shows the flatness when you're at ground level, right? Everybody can agree on that, right? All right, here's the deal. Every time you see a balloon going up or anything going up in the sky, if the lens tells you that the ground is flat at ground level, and you go up to any altitude, I don't care what it is, and the horizon remains flat, what does that tell you, class? Conversely, if you have a fisheye lens and you go from ground level up to any altitude, the apparent curvature of the Earth remains the same all the way up at any and all altitudes. Yet you know that at ground level, because that's where most of us are usually, right now, look around and it's flat, right? Well, you might have to get a little bit higher, but yeah, it's flat. Okay? You can see that. So, what does that mean, class? Now, I do have one caveat. And here, you see it's perfectly flat because they're using a 360 view, all right? And that makes perfect sense. Now, if you just had a normal single camera view field, it can look curved due to the fact that you're looking at something a little bit closer straight ahead versus the peripheral. Does that make sense? However, what you see on the peripheral is bleed. It kind of bleeds up on the sides, but it also fades down on the sides, and if you average it out, it comes out flat. All right, and then here when you have the sun, local sun showing, it's like a spotlight. You've seen the flat Earth map animation with the sun going around, and it's like basically a circle, right, going around. That's a simplified version view, I think, of what it really is, but you get the basic idea that it doesn't make a square, it doesn't make a like a piece of a pie shape or something. It's basically like a flashlight shining down. It's one way to think of it. Now, the illuminated area of the Earth at any given time, that's going to have a curve, right? So if you're high enough and you look, you're going to see of the visible Earth that's illuminated, if you can see that far, you might see a curve there. Doesn't mean that the surface is curved. You follow me? Okay, the next point I want to show, this is a video, just, I don't think it's during an eclipse, maybe, but I don't see the shadow from the eclipse unless it's that dark band there. But anyway, I don't think so. If you see these things around the sun, I know that they could be lens flares. I realize that. All right? Is that point understood by everybody? Okay. I'll make sure, because I will not accept any comments telling me that they're about lens flares. I know about them. Let's consider for a moment that the ancients were correct, saying that there were a clockwork of orbs circling and rotating about the sun. I hate the word orbit. Orbits are bullcrap, because that, the bastardized version of gravity, Newton's gravity, would explain orbits. That stuff's, I don't believe it. There's no evidence for it. So whatever magnetism or physical attachments or whatnot bind these things to the sun, they certainly seem to circle around, and that's why you get this eyeball view. Now here, this is the eclipse in the series of photos that were played earlier of this little eclipse sequence. It's in full eclipse, so this balloon is in the shadow or looking towards the shadow, right? And you can see these orbs visible in this case, and that could be a special kind of lensing effect. So it's possible. So here in this picture we saw earlier, there's this lens flare. Now we want to talk about lens flares. This one really fascinates me. It's just extremely fascinating to me. I don't think I have to say why. Maybe it's just a random shape, but as far as lens flares go, at least the lens flares do reveal something of the structure of the luminary. The lens is being flared. I don't even know how to say that properly, but I think you get what I mean. But this is running a little long, so I'm going to stop my analysis there. I've done enough damage, but hopefully you gain something from it.